You guys will be well aware about what nuclear power plants are. Nuclear power plants produce electricity by uranium nuclear fission. It's very effective in producing electricity because even with a small amount of fuel, a large portion of electricity can be easily made. But besides its efficiency, there are still lots of potential danger lurking beyond the power plant. As you can see, what happened in Chernobyl in 1986 and Fukushima in 2011. This potential danger is what our government is worried about. The Korean government's current policy to cut off nuclear power plants' contribution to the country's whole electricity supply. Nuclear power is, of course, dangerous, but still, the way our government is doing right now is too extreme, canceling all additional nuclear power plant construction plans and closing other frequently used power plants one by one. To me, this seems too radical and too fast. So what I'm going to say is, first of all, cutting off nuclear power plants all of a sudden could bring a big economic loss to our society. Nuclear power is practically the main reason of Korea's economic development. High-efficiency electricity production led to plenty of electricity, which helped our country a lot to become a well-developed country in just 30 years. And also, our nuclear power plant technology is world-class enough to export to other countries. We own unique technology on nuclear power plant generations. Based on this, recently Korea has built a large nuclear power plant district in United Arab Emirates. That was last May. What's more, this policy our government is doing right now doesn't seem to reflect our country's situation. Korea currently has 24 nuclear power plants running at the moment, and these plants produce over 30% of the nation's whole electricity production. In contrast, Korea's renewable energy only takes over 3% of the whole electricity. This proportion of renewable energy is the lowest percentage amongst OECD countries. As you can see, development in renewable energy is quite urgent in Korea. But the thing is, our territory doesn't have much large plains for solar power. Neither does it have the right landscapes for wind power. Our country has an inborn limitation for renewable energy generation, which means if we become to cut off nuclear power generations, there could be serious consequences like lack of electricity. Plus, the government doesn't really have an exact plan for renewable energy developments right at the moment. In this situation, simply just shutting down the nuclear power industry doesn't seem to be the right way. There also have been other nations that have cut off nuclear power, such as Germany and Taiwan. In Germany's case, it's already been 20 years since they have been cutting off all nuclear power plants. And as a result, there was an enormous jump in electricity bills. The bill became 2 times or even 2.5 times higher than the last bill. And as for Taiwan, after cutting off nuclear power, the lack of electricity eventually became unbearable for citizens after cutting off all nuclear powers. So the lack of electricity became unbearable, and as a result, they canceled the policy. Looking over these 2 cases, I'm not quite sure if cutting off nuclear power should benefit Korea that much. Of course, nuclear power is dangerous, but still, we should be aware that just cutting off nuclear power completely isn't such a good idea. Rather, it can lead to much more serious situations, such as economic crises. What I want to say is that we should think more roughly and deeply about lowering the nuclear power generation little by little, not all of a sudden. That way, a much more safe future could be made ahead of us, instead just unsure future. Thank you for listening.
In my opinion, there was a lot of claims on the presentation, and you haven't presented us any researches that helps us understanding the claims. So, are there any sources?
Yeah, of course, I did some sources like news articles and other homepages from government sites. So.
But you know, if you don't cite those sources, but you use them, that's plagiarism, right? We talked about this, right? Also, we talked about not reading. Unfortunately, once one person reads, other people start thinking they can read, but it's really difficult to evaluate because almost everybody's presented. And then when somebody reads, like, how can we fairly mark that? It's kind of difficult. Because the reading class is the class down the hall, you know. This is the presentation class. But you said Korea doesn't have the right landscape for wind power, but mountains are very windy.
The mountains are windy, but there are problems like harming the landscape and the nature's harming the nature. That's the problem, and also they are main mountains, but still those places are not exactly appropriate for wind power. So
Korea is also very sunny.
Yeah.
Korea is also very sunny.
Yeah, it's sunny, but you know, like if we need Korea is sunny, but the landscape is very small. So if we are going to have a lot of power from solar panels, we are going to have a lot of land, such as deserts.
The UK has a micro-generation policy, so people have
Small panels
on their roof or in their garden, or they have a wind tower in their garden or on their roofs, and you know, Korea has a lot of windows. It's possible to turn windows into photovoltaic cells.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of this technology is in the near future, but it's something the government could plan for now. If every new building had to have a bunch of solar panels, you know, little by little, that can start to make an impact, right?
Yeah, but like what I'm saying here is more general. So we can put solar panels on every buildings or windows, but still if we're gonna make electricity purely based on solar panels, we should think of more about it, I guess.
Anyway, it's quite good that we finished at 4 minutes, because that actually means we might have time to do everything else. So let's finish that.